I can see a nice solder joint. Here's my double check. Putting my thumb over each lead so it doesn't go flying. I like a little bit more fillet on that one, so I'm going to avoid cutting that one off just to call my attention. This one right here. Maybe that one there too. Okay, I'll sweep those all off, and I'll go in for these two guys. Just adding just a tad more solder. Kind of a weak fillet there on this guy right here. It's kind of weak. Okay. Yeah, I like that. I like that. It's better. Okay. Alright, so there is the resistors and diodes that all lie flat on the board. So, probably the next thing would be the sockets, because they're the next highest part on the board. So I'll get my 3 8-pin dip sockets. One goes here in the pick, and make sure you orient the little half moon there with the half moon on the socket. That's your reference to pin numbers 1 and 8. Now I just bend with my fingernail. I'm just bending 2 pins on the opposite corners out. Do the same thing with the mixer chip. I'll put my finger in there and I'll okay, and one last chip. This is the op amp chip. Put that in. Okay, so those 3 chips are in. I'll solder them all up. Now I like to solder furthest, getting closer to me right down the line. Okay, so oh, I'm sorry. I made a mistake there. I want to go in the first one and then go up. That way I'm always soldering away from the last one I just soldered. Come on. A little dry. Okay, clean that tip. I got a little bead of solder right there. See that little ball of solder? Gotta watch that. Okay. Let's go in this way. There we go. Remember in the last video I said this is a brand new iron. I'm not liking the way it's balling up, so I'm going to do a tip clean on it with my Salomoniac and see if that makes it any better. Yeah, okay. So next one is over here. Boy, I'm not seeing that tip is I don't know if you can see that, but that tip is kind of weird. It's got all of a sudden it's got a really good point on it, which I don't like. So I am going to go back to the tip I used last night. I changed it. Let's see if yeah. Yeah, I'm going to go back and use the tip I used last night. So, I'm going to do this while it's hot. I don't want to take too much time here, so I'm going to very carefully, with my pliers, take the... It's the nice thing about these inexpensive irons is the fact that you can actually I gotta wait for that tip to come up to temperature. Okay. We'll wait for a minute. See what happens. Ooh, that's a much cleaner tip. I'll clean this one again with my... I can see that's not quite up to temperature though. Okay. Here we go. So we're going to continue on with this guy. Yeah, that solder's good. Oh yeah, boy, that just shot right over there. Okay. Now we're cooking. You can see it transfer heat a lot better on this tip. Okay, there are the 3 sockets. 1, 2. Yep, everything's good. So we're looking pretty good. The next thing I want to put on there is I'll put the sockets for the band modules. Oh yeah, because they're relatively short. So here are the sockets for the band modules. There's 3 sockets to work with. But we have to cut them. So I'm going to set the board aside for a minute. We have to cut, remember that here's the crystal board, has got a 2x3 and a 2x2 for a connection. So I got to cut these down. And what I do is I'm going to cut the first, I'm going to use 3 and then 2. So what I do is I yank out the pin between. So I'm going to take the 4th pin out on both rows, and then I'm going to go down and take the 5th pin, so I'll end up with a 3 and a 2. I'll just yank those pins out, and then I go get my my favorite pliers. Let's see, where are they? Off to one side in my favorite pliers. And I am going to go right down through the top, close to the edge, but not really totally at the edge. And I'll just guillotine that. And now I have a 3-pin connector. And I'll guillotine the other side. And now I've got a 2. So there's a 3 and a 2. I'll do the same thing with another connector for a 2 and a 2. Pull that out. Isolate 2 on each end. And now again, you can do this with your flush cutters, but I don't think it comes out quite as clean. There's a 2. And soon we'll have another 2. There we go. So I can put that one back because I'm not going to use it. 2, 2, 3 to 2. One could clean these up with a little bit of sandpaper, which I happen to have off to one side someplace. I've got sandpaper. Oh, here it is right here. So I'll just square this up a little bit. Make it look just a little bit neater. And 2. Another 2. And the last one. Okay, so we'll clean those up somewhat. And I'll come back with my board, and you'll see I can put the 3 here, and I can put a 2 on the other side, like that. I'm going to put the cut ends and the sanded ends to the inside, so might make it a little bit visually cleaner. I'm going to take these off for a minute. You can see how quickly they come off. I'm going to put my crystal board on there and use that as a holder. I'm going to jimmy up the other side with something just to... I want a little bit more. There we go. That looks good. Okay. Now it's relatively level, and I can solder 1 pin on both connectors. Just 1 pin. Because I'm going to go back and hold it. 1 pin. 1 pin. Now I can go back and take a look at it and see they're nice and straight up and down. Looks good. So now I can go back. I can still prop it up if I want to. I don't really need to because now the sockets are being held in place, so I can just go down the line or up the line. Okay, that's good. I'll do these guys. One, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So there's the crystal module. I'll pull that back out and set it aside. And I'll do the same thing for the band module, which is down here. So here's Okay, now plug in my low pass filter module. Again, turn it on the other side, and this time I'm looking for something else. It's a little bit of a height difference. So this time I'm looking for something else to prop the board up so it's reasonably level. This looks like it's going to work pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. So that's reasonably level, which means this board is perpendicular. So again, I'm going to just do one pin on each connector. Okay. Wait for it to cool. And put my tools away. Inspect that. This one could push down just a little bit. I see it's rocked a little bit forward, so I'm gonna push down on the board and try to hold it and just reflow that thing while I'm pushing on the board and evening it up, and looks good to me. So I'll finish doing those connectors. Oh, that was the wrong spot. I'm sorry. I goofed. I'll fix that later. It's up on the top of the board, not the bottom of the board.